game show.
Hey Spectrum, welcome back to Noise News. Things have begun to quiet down as we approach the end of the school year, but don't forget about the Powder Puff Tournament this Friday at 6:30 p.m.
It's free to watch, and it's a great opportunity to get some school spirit in before the end of the year. I wish we had a way of finding out the exact dates that Spectrum Sports took place.
Arik, you're never going to believe this, but we have an entire weekly segment dedicated to that. Ethan and Aiden, the floor is yours.
Hey Spectrum, it's Ethan
and Aiden
here with the sports.
We've got a lot to cover today, considering many games have been rescheduled are coming to you guys this week.
Now here we can take a look at a classic spring lineup that happened just yesterday. Golf, baseball, and softball all had their respective games with the JV side of things happening with baseball and softball.
Time jumping to today. Golf girls varsity had a meet at Fox Hollow. Baseball varsity is facing North Lakes. Softball varsity is battling Breck, and it seems the true track teams are playing.
True track teams? What does that mean?
I suppose true-hearted?
That reminds me, we recently met with Jairus Sorensen, an upcoming high jump star that recently set a record.
And then, what was your record for track?
Well, my record for track was in high jump, and I got 6 feet.
And then, who was your biggest supporter out of your whole family?
Out of my whole family, it's probably my mom, because she's always been the one to take me to all the doctor's appointments to make sure that I can try and get healthy and that type of stuff.
And then anyone you'd like to thank for this record, or anyone that you'd like to thank in your family, or someone you'd like to appreciate?
Yeah, just Coach Cal for always helping me with that and kind of coaching me through the basics of the sport.
A good look at the importance of support needed for those with extracurricular activities.
A swing into Wednesday, girls golf JV had a meet at the Majestic Oaks Golf Club. It looks like a rescheduled game you mentioned before is popping up. Today was softball girls JV facing Pact. Now it's important to remember that this game has a 5-inning cap.
For those who don't know, an inning is an alteration between the two teams after the offensive side strikes out while batting.
3 strikes and you're out. A team that will be stepping away from the plate, West Lutheran is going against our JV and varsity baseball team in a standard 9-inning game.
A shift over to Thursday, both softball teams and track teams have games.
That's right, softball up against Providence Academy at 4, and both track teams will be facing Princeton at 4 as well.
Now at the end of the school week, Friday has a JV golf meet. Baseball varsity and JV have games, and softball varsity have games too.
Early morning game this Saturday at 11. Baseball varsity and JV are striking Mayor Lutheran.
Now that's all we have for you today, Spectrum.
Back to you, Natalie and Arik.
Thanks, Ethan and Aiden.
Spring is a busy season for our Spectrum athletes.
You know, Belle and I recently did a story about track, one of the many sports that happen in the springtime.
That sounds great. Take it away, guys.
With all the sports the Spectrum has to offer, it's hard to keep track of all of them. A sport that people of all ages enjoy during the spring is track. With so many different events in just one sport, each person has their own favorite part.
I think the people and the friends that I met throughout my couple years of track.
My favorite part of track is meet all my friends. It makes it really fun.
My favorite part about meet is hanging out with Hannah, Claire, and Hope, and cheering everybody on.
It seems that track means something a little bit different to everyone.
I think track to me is mostly about seeing myself improve and work through struggles, maybe on hard days, and I don't know, I don't want to do them in the beginning, but then once I do them, it's a good sense of accomplishment.
The name means running, and lots of running, but it's just getting together as a team and suffering through pain, which is running.
I really like the camaraderie that it presents. When you're forced to stay at a meet for 6 hours, you just make new friends and you just go around the track cheering on people, and it just really makes you feel connected even if you don't know the other people you're with that well.
It seems that in the end, track really is like a family. Some might even say,
Track is love. Track is life.
so if you enjoy meeting new friends and setting goals for yourself, track just might be the sport for you. This has been Natalie and Belle, Noise News.
Wow, that story was so good.
Arik, get off your phone and pay attention. Jeez.
Maybe if our show was live, I would have a reason to get off of it.
Regardless, you and Evan made a story about the phone policy enforcement, so maybe you can remind yourself to have some self-control. Take it away, guys.
Mr. Leland held a school assembly to talk about a policy change regarding phones. This was a spark of conversation among staff and students.
Yeah, I don't really mind it because I've never really struggled with like having to be off my phone. But when the policy started, I think a lot of kids just were kind of dramatic about it or were trying to like fight back. And personally, I don't think that they should. Like, I would just let it be and just listen to what the teachers have to say because we don't want any more like issues to arise and stuff like that.
Personally, the phone policy doesn't affect me too much because I'm not usually on my phone in class, but I do notice that a lot of kids don't like the new phone policy because of their attachment to social media and how they think it's dumb because it's such a quick change in practice over the already existing policy.
To be fair, the new phone policy isn't super different from the policy that I've had most of this year's. Probably more so after the first month or two of school, realizing that it's such a distraction. And when I do that, I try to as well do the same thing I do too. If I forget to turn off my phone ringer, the students call me out on it and I go put my phone in the pocket sometimes too. And I also have tried to model, hey, I know that I'm getting a phone call today from my daughter's school, or I've got a coaching thing coming up. So just know that might come up, and because sometimes there are things. And I've always asked and told students, hey, if you have something special or there's a specific emergency, because you guys have parents, you have family members, sometimes you are going to get a call because somebody has surgery today or they have something, or my mom's trying to figure out who's picking me up after school. Those are real life situations where it makes sense that you have it with you at that time.
Students and staff alike have opinions on how effective the policy currently is.
There should be a different way. Personally, I believe that they should just put their phones in the pockets right away. I don't think there should be warnings or stuff like that because some kids just don't learn, and it takes them a while to learn to realize that they have to get off their phone. And I just don't I feel like as a teacher, if I was like a teacher, I wouldn't want to go through that.
I don't think this was the way they approached it wasn't very good. They didn't consider the student body as much as I think that they should have. And I've heard from some of the SVC members how they weren't listened to as well, or they didn't get their opinions out there quick enough, or weren't followed through as well, and how a lot of students don't like the approach that they went with it, and how some teachers, they wanted to keep continuity, but some teachers would be very strict about the putting it in the pockets, and how a couple of teachers I heard haven't been making it a choice. They've been strictly just put it in the pocket at the beginning of class, whatever. You can't keep it on you and all that kind of stuff.
I think it was probably the quickest and best option that we had in a short-term fix. Ultimately we have to figure out a way for it to be less distracting. Sadly, phones rule too much of our lives.
Students and staff both have ideas that they thought would be good to have implemented.
I think there should have been more of a warning instead of just we're doing this. I feel like there should have been a discussion about it with in each class, a quick 5-minute discussion about hey, what are your guys' thoughts on this? What do you think would be best?
Currently, I don't think there is a good way to solve it. I think the best way to avoid such a thing like this is to teach kids during maybe have an RTI session, or show kids how to avoid the habit and break the habit of being on social media for so long. Because one of the biggest arguments that I've heard from students is they've been attached to their phones, or their only way of communicating was their phones through the entirety of the COVID lockdown and all that stuff, and all the social distancing stuff really hurt them mentally with the attachment of phones, and how they were forced to basically rely on technology through online learning, and it didn't flow very well from going straight into going to 5 days a week to school.
I think it's going to take practice. it's hard for us to put it away. I think if we can come to an understanding and kind of better regulate ourselves to knowing that, okay, I'm going to put it away for an hour, but that means then I get to look at it for 10 minutes.
The phone policy will continue to be in effect to hopefully help our students learn. This has been Arik and Evan. Back to you.
You see, Natalie, people get off their phones for things that engage them. Like the last story.
Would something like the band concert also get you off your phone? Because we also have a story on that.
Absolutely. Here's River and Gray with more about our spring band concert.
Musicians around the world are very passionate about their music. One of those ways to share their passion is through energetic concerts. Spectrum's performers from all of our bands had many emotions coming into the spring concert.
I think there's plenty of excitement for the concert this year, playing, big Led Zeppelin, ending the concert with that piece.
Mainly the nerves, because with this band concert, this is the biggest rush we've had to get everything done, because we're trying to step up and do harder music than we've ever done.
This concert took hours and a lot of effort to make the spectacular performance happen.
I feel the progression, and I feel that we are at the point now where we are ready.
Now, this late in the year, a lot of the bands have been practicing and they're back into getting ready for band concerts and playing instruments.
With all the different bands performing, there were many songs that resonated with the performers.
I'd say my favorite song is probably It Don't Mean a Thing from Jazz Band.
My favorite song for Jazz Band would have to be It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. And my favorite song for Chamber Winds is obviously Led Zeppelin, but it's Kashmir.
In Jazz Band, we are going to do a version of Welcome to the Jungle.
This year's spring band concert was an amazing way to finish off Spectrum's band performing year. This has been River and Gray, Noise News.
Spectacular story, crew.
Let's wrap up today's show with a story on our Student Voice Collaborative.
Take it away, Emma and Aaron.
In the beginning of every month, our Spectrum's SVC Inventory Committee puts out a Google form for students to fill out. Because these surveys are still so new, there are some challenges along the way.
Some challenges of the SVC inventory is that there's no one really knows who we are, and so it's we can't really get the feedback that we really want.
There are some responses that are very limited in their details or their words, and so it's difficult to get the full picture of what they're trying to communicate. So, and that's not necessarily something that we can fix on our part, but when you're submitting the form or when other people are submitting the form, they can be more detailed in their answers so we can get a bigger idea of what they're talking about, so we have a better understanding of how to attack the problem.
On the other hand, the SVC inventory has had a lot of successes.
It's been really successful so far. We weren't really expecting to have a lot of feedback until next year, but the seniors have kind of really started that for us, and they want to leave their opinion before they leave. So make the school a better place for the people that come through.
Some of the feedback we've gotten for our inventory has been directed towards teachers, administration, and other staff members. And whether it's positive, constructive, critical, it's being relayed to the staff. So anyone that is currently or has in the past replied to the inventory with complaints or compliments towards the staff, they are getting those, and they are being told how to either adapt or how to stay the same with respect to the information we got.
We've actually started progressing more with the group and actually getting down to a purpose of what our group is and taking things to another level.
A lot of the people found it nice that they could give a sort of anonymous, we know your name and administration has your name, but it's kind of an easier way than face-to-face to talk about what you want to do and what you want to change in the school. And then a lot of the stuff that goes in there we actually have a conversation about.
According to the feedback, the SVC has planned to make some changes.
The first change was the phone thing with it's not a band but a plan.
Parking is one of those big ones that a lot of the upperclassmen have been replying to the survey with. We actually used that, and we consider this a success on our part. We used the information we got from people complaining about parking to develop a new system that will be actually in place next year for parking, where it will be assigned, spots will be assigned to students based on seniority. So seniors will get the first spots, and then juniors will get the next set, and then sophomores will get the next set if there are any sophomores with their licenses.
Another thing that we're doing is cracking down on people
like bullying and being mean, like that's always something that the school's working on. But like we've noticed a lot of like it in the hallways, and we're trying to crack down on that a little bit more.
One of the things that we have spent a lot of time talking about in our large group and small group meetings in the SVC is just school spirit in general, and how we feel like school spirit has slowly kind of declined over the years, and how we plan on fixing that. And so one of the things that we devised to fix that problem is a special event that will be happening before the Powder Tough game.
The members of the SVC Inventory Committee highly encourage students to fill out this survey.
I think it's just like a really, like I encourage everybody to use it. Like it is such a good source, and like especially like we have one representative for each grade. I'm the junior, so obviously like Gavin Chucky's our senior, Ellie Fox is our sophomore, and Ashley Coley is our freshman. And we are all like really compassionate people, and we sit down for like 10 minutes, we go through, we highlight.
Lastly, Gavin Tuckey would like to give a special shout out to somebody.
This doesn't really have to do with the survey committee, it's the other subcommittee we have in the SVC, but it's like the social media strategists or the social media committee or the Instagram committee. It's run by Sam Lemke, and he's done an amazing job. I just wanted to shout him out.
When we send surveys, do them. Actually do them, because it helps us a lot.
Make sure to be on the lookout for the May Inventory Google form. This has been Emma and Aaron, Noise News.
Thanks, team. Well, Spectrum, looks like we're all out of news for this week. This has been Arik.
And Natalie.
Keeping you
in on the noise.
Can't you believe it's almost summer?
I'm so excited for summer. I'm so tired.